This is the midweek drop this week. Just quick thoughts on what's going on in the football world, whatever comes into my head. I'm riffing off the mic. Football moves really fast. One moment you're on top of the world, you're league champions, you've won the Champions League. The next, all of a sudden, your job is on the line, potentially as a manager. As a player, you're potentially finished. And as a club, you're in absolute turmoil and a crisis. So a context right now would be, for Liverpool, you look at Arne Slot coming in last season after taking over from Jurgen Klopp. Doesn't really add to the squad. Comes in, and what we see from him is a lot more of a calm and controlled approach, right? We know that. We know how it goes. Liverpool do extremely well in the league. They go on to win the league title relatively comfortably, never really getting pulled into too much of a title race along the way. They also compete with PSG, who end up going to win the Champions League, and everyone is in awe of in Europe. They take them all the way to penalties. Carabao Cup final as well. So a very, very high level performance on Liverpool last season, and everyone is waxing lyrical about Liverpool, and in particular Arne Slot, how he's come in season one and won the Premier League. I think also potentially the first Dutchman to do it as well, right? So that's setting the scene, that's the context, and that's where we are. Come the summertime, Liverpool want to go do a big kind of haul over of the squad. Van Dijk and Salah get the new contracts, but, they're looking ahead now to the future. What's the future going to be? What's the Arne Slot's Liverpool going to look like moving forwards without these two stars? And how do they maintain the level of being at the top? So the first thing you do is you recruit, and you spend money very, very heavily. And it's very interesting, the whole kind of money concept and the whole money part, because I've done this and I do this, and we all do this as football fans. We equate spending money with success. I mean, we equate that in life, really, don't we? Let's be honest, money equals success. And I think that's the lovely thing about sport, and the beautiful thing about sport, and in particular football, is that it doesn't matter. If you spent the most money and you've got all these name players, and we've talked about it before with the Galacticos or Manchester United in that phase after Ferguson left, where it's just buying names and big name players, football just doesn't work like that. And that's what makes it so beautiful. So you go and you spend the money. I think from the point of view, you get your targets down. I think all the targets make sense. You've already got the goalkeeper in that's going to be the kind of takeover from Alisson. Trent leaves, so you need to go for a right back. You go and buy Jeremy Frimpong, who's brilliant at Bayern Leverkusen. Everyone thinks that's a great sign-in. Robertson looks like he's declining a little bit. Everyone would agree Tsimikas isn't really the starting left back. So you go by who was probably potentially the best left back in the league last season at Bournemouth, who had these overlapping runs, getting forward, high energy, high pace. Same with Frimpong on the other side. Liverpool don't really have a number 9 that they like. Darwin Núñez, everyone probably agreed that it was time for him to go. Jota, I think, would have probably stayed for at least another season in there and played a part in being that kind of number 9 in there. But what Liverpool do is they go out and they buy Alexander Isak, who I think everyone would agree is probably the second best striker behind Erling Haaland in the league at that time. And I've seen him play against like Arsenal and bully Saliba and Gabriel. I've seen him play against Virgil van Dijk and bully him and just be absolutely sensational and absolutely unplayable. Makes total sense. Unfortunately, throughout the whole Jota thing as well, you kind of need to get two strikers in. So you go by a younger guy in Hugo Ekitike, who's kind of, you're hoping is going to be the next big thing, who's been absolutely brilliant. And you take it from there and you have all those signings, and to me, they all make sense. They do all make sense, right? You miss out on the centre-back and Mark Gahey, and that's maybe coming back to bite Liverpool a little bit because they haven't really been able to rotate Ubi Kanati out of extremely poor form, haven't been able to take him out the fold, because can you back Joe Gomez's kind of fitness? His record would say that you can't. So you've recruited in all these areas, and everyone in the summer, including myself, would look at that and say, and I think everyone pretty much did, Liverpool are going to run away with it. I never think that, even as a fan. I was actually a little bit concerned because it's not the quote-unquote Liverpool way of doing things. But the money part, you spend the money and everyone thinks you're going to run away with it, and especially when all the signings start to make sense. As I said, you've tied down Salah and Van Dijk, and Alisson's obviously still there. You've got Robertson, you've got a core group of guys that have been around and have done it and have won things, and you need that in football to be able to show these new guys how to come in. Now, the profile of the player that you go and buy and how you get that is one thing. From the paper, from how it looks on paper, from how it looks to everybody, you've recruited very well. You've gone and spent money. Adding on to signing new guys in there, I think it's important to make sure that you know what a club's identity is, and you get people in that are that identity. And I think one thing I'm struggling with at the moment with Liverpool is watching maybe it's just a situation that we're in right now, which I totally do understand. But it's seeing the forwards. I think Ekitike puts the work in, but I'm seeing Isak, who's not really like a high level pressing striker. And I think buying the right types of profile for the club that you're at. If you look at Dominic Szoboszlai, it's just, I mean, like he's the heartbeat and the story of what it is to be in a football team and what it should be to be a football player. I mean, he's obviously technically very gifted and all those things, don't get me wrong. It's kind of that Jordan Henderson always got talked about was work rate over everything else, and everything else kind of got put below. I think Dominic Szoboszlai is probably a better technical football player than Jordan Henderson, but you just see him pressing and going, and that for me is a fan, and every single fan, and it's not just Liverpool, that's what you want to see in a team, and it's about getting those right profiles in and those right characters in, and making sure you're following that DNA and keeping that in there, because if you start to go too far away from it, the fans have got this concept and this ideology in their head of what their team should look like. And of course it shifts slightly over time, and of course the game evolves and the game changes, but you don't want to go too far away from that. And I've struggled with that. The season starts, you're winning a lot of games kind of late on, and you would say that's the hallmark of kind of champions, and we've seen that a lot under Sir Alex Ferguson's Man United teams throughout the years. We've seen it under Liverpool and Jurgen Klopp a few times. That's a DNA that you have in a club that's a very, very good thing to have, and you kind of hope performances can come through and do that. However, all of a sudden, and this is where, this is how crazy it is where football can flip, all of a sudden, you start dropping points, you start losing games, get some injuries. The tactical plans that you have in place change. Your coaching staff has changed. And all of a sudden, as soon as you start to drop a little bit below that level, especially at a team and a club like Liverpool, you have all eyes on you and you're in a lot of trouble. And already the pressure starts to crank up. You then add into the situation that Liverpool have had, where the guy who has been the main man, my second favourite Liverpool player of all time behind Steven Gerrard probably, and Mohamed Salah, starting to age a little bit. Not that he's been the problem, but the team we need to be more compact. You need to be more solid. You need to handle the moment that you're in and where you are at. And you go and you put him on the bench for 3 games, and it's not like you're winning all of the games, but the team looks more solid and compact without him in there. He drops an explosive interview, and you have to go in for that. And all of a sudden, everyone is looking at Liverpool going, wow, what a mess they are in. From literally just what, 5 months ago, 6 months ago, probably less than that, they are Premier League champions and everyone is waxing lyrical, and that's how quickly it can change, and that is the beauty of the game. I mean, if you take it, Mourinho at Chelsea does the same thing. He kind of does the same thing everywhere, Mourinho, doesn't he? Starts off high, it's this kind of crash and burn, that kind of like Tupac Shakur, like flame burns bright early and then just dies out very, very quickly and quite abruptly. You've seen it with Ferguson, Man United at the top for so long. All of a sudden he leaves and it's an absolute drop off a clip. Arsenal, we know it's been a long time since they've won Premier League titles, and we're really becoming a laughing stock of the Premier League. Arteta's built them up. So it all goes round in circles and cycles, and we deem not staying at the top as a complete and absolute failure. And I get that. Sport is about winning at the end of the day. And when you're at the top, you've got to stay at the top and you've got to try and win. But we've been through this with managers that have been able to maintain that. There's very, very few. Sir Alex Ferguson, Pep Guardiola, Carlo Ancelotti. I mean, even Jurgen Klopp from a Liverpool point of view, like, gets us up there, but he's not winning year on, year out, but you're up there. You're up there. You're a force. And is that really what you've just got to do? Like, be a force and be in the mix, and then luck and everything plays a part. But it just all changes and twirls around and swirls around so quickly. You then have to tactically be able to adapt and change and do all these things to be able to stay where you're at, and teams catch you up and all of these things. And it's a place where it's just a situation where I think the best clubs, managers, all of that realize the situation that they're in, and they change and they adapt to do it. And I think from what we saw last night with Liverpool, I was very, very happy they got the win. And I'm not like Team Salah or Team Slot, which it seems to be online with this whole thing. But I was very happy with the win, because it might not have been the prettiest, it might not have been the most convincing, but I tell you what it was a team that was together. If everyone's talking about the dressing room is gone and has he potentially lost the dressing room, and other people feeling the same as Salah, if you looked at that performance and that effort on the pitch last night, it was the complete opposite. Every single player were there playing for the team, and I would say the manager, and I was really, really happy for him that he got the win there, because he kind of there was a knife in his back and it kind of got twisted a little bit from Mo Salah, and I think you can see he's quite hurt by it, by the interview after the game. with Clarence Seedorf and everyone, and they ask him all these questions. I think he's quite hurt and taken aback by it, to be quite honest. And it's a moment. It's a moment in Arne Slot's career where he's not had to handle adversity, and particularly at this level. So it's the first time it's new for him. A star player, a big name, a global brand in Mo Salah has come out and has really kind of, kicked him while he's down. And it's a changing moment. And that's the other thing about football is the fact that I used to say this to the kids all the time. There's always another game. There's always another game around the corner, and that one moment in a game can be the change. If you look at Kanati getting the goal is potentially the change for him. I know it gets disallowed, but I thought that's a boost for him. That can change his form. Florian Wirtz comes on and is very, very good. And there's just it's moments. It's just complete moments. And the fact that when you're in a bad run of form or in a good run of form, whatever, and you're in this time of the season, you have so many games, there's just an opportunity to put things right and completely change your direction, your momentum. And momentum doesn't always last forever, and it comes in peaks and troughs. And you have to try and stop the rot as you're going down and not let it go down too far, and very, very quickly bring yourself back up. And hopefully after last night, that's what we can see what Liverpool do. But we've seen it, and we see it all the time with so many clubs, right? We do. We've seen it with Rangers recently. We've even seen it with Celtic and Scotland, where they just started to dip a little bit under Rodgers because of maybe where he was at, him and the board, whatever the things are. There's so many different circumstances, but you just don't always stay here. There's going to be those moments, and it's how quickly can you adapt and fix it and stop it and start to push yourself back up, and can you get back to that next level? That's really what it is. So what's next here? What's next? How do you get through moments? Like I've said, is this a turning point for Liverpool? And when your teams have been in this, whether you're down at the bottom, you're in the Championship, you're in League Two, the Conference, you're in Scotland, whatever it is, that feeling of that moment, that could be that turning point. So what is next? I think Liverpool have just got to stay stable. And I think for us as fans, we have to accept it's not going to look free-flowing, dominating the ball and things like that. But he's done the right things. He's stopping the rot. He's making it compact, and you have to strip it all the way back and start from there. And as you start to gain confidence again as a team and as a squad, and as you start picking up results, the freedom can come back in to going forwards and attacking. And you can see the likes of Wirtz get on the football again. You can see the likes of Ekitike hoping some more runs inside. Maybe it opens up just a different kind of style of play for Alexander Isak. But what's next is just keeping this going and not showing unity, right? Showing unity for Liverpool right now with everything that's going on, whether that is with or without Mo Salah, however that goes. I mean, he leaves after Saturday anyway to AFCON, so there's a nice little break there. And yeah, unity is what's next for Liverpool. Unity is what's next, and they need to make sure that they stay on that and they stay together, because that's the heart of the club. That's the DNA of the club. That's the DNA of football. That's the DNA of life. Be a team, work together, work hard, pull each other through it. You're all going to have bad moments, but don't fall out with each other. Stick with each other, have words with each other, do all those things in the change room, in the dressing room. Keep it internal, obviously, but stay solid, stay compact, keep getting the wins under your belt, and before you know it, you can start to open up and be a bit more creative and a bit more expressive. So that's what's next for Liverpool. As always, drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think about, not just Liverpool, but that kind of like football, how quickly it can change and how quickly the narrative can shift, and how you go from the greatest thing since sliced bread to all of a sudden the worst thing, and that you should be sacked, or you're past it, or you're done as a player, or where's it all gone? I mean, it's a crazy world that we live in, and especially with media and all this type of stuff. It's just accelerated, and it's all so fast. Like I've really taken myself off of reading a lot of things on Twitter, because it just like implants things and thoughts in your brain that you're just thinking like, I don't really feel that way. And it's chaos, right? People like to light fire on there and online and get clicks and views and all those types of things. So you kind of have to push yourself away from that and look at what's really, really in front of you and how you feel about it, especially as a lifelong football fan. Right, that's what you need to do. So like and subscribe to the channel. It's a road to 500. We're trying to get there. All of those things. And as always, until the next one, have a good one. Peace.